The emergency transmission cut through the Verdant station's comm channels with crystalline urgency. Hostile vessels detected. Multiple signatures. This is not a drill. Administrator Kelthix's secondary manipulators trembled as he watched the tactical display populate with red markers. 17 ships. No, 23. Still climbing. His people weren't warriors. The Verdant Collective had built their fortune on trade, diplomacy, and careful neutrality in a galaxy that respected such things. These pirates clearly didn't care. Shields to maximum. Seal all docking ports. Broadcast distress on all frequencies. Kelthix's voice cracked slightly. The station's defensive armaments consisted of 6-point defense arrays designed to deflect micrometeorites, not military-grade weapons. How long until the defense fleet arrives? His tactical officer, a young Verdant named Silthaz, checked her console with mounting horror. 73 hours at best speed. The nearest patrol is 2 systems away. 73 hours. Kelthix felt his circulatory fluids chill. The pirates would breach their outer hull in 73 minutes if they wanted to. The station held 40,000 souls. Merchants, families, children in the educational centers. All because the council had insisted this sector was safe. All because they'd believed their reputation would protect them. The lead pirate vessel was broadcasting now, and Kelthix recognized the configuration. Kreshtar raiders. The worst kind. They didn't just steal cargo. They took species for the slave markets on the rim. His people would fetch a premium price, docile and intelligent as they were. This is Warlord Draka of the Crimson Fong, the transmission boomed. You have technology and biologics we desire. Surrender your station intact and most of you will survive to serve. Resist and we will take what remains from your corpses. You have 10 minutes to decide. Kelthix stared at the view screen. 10 minutes. Not even time to evacuate the children. His security chief, Morith, a grizzled Quellan who'd seen combat in his youth, stepped forward. Administrator, we have 400 security personnel and maybe 300 civilians with weapons training. Against that? He gestured at the tactical display showing the pirate fleet spreading into an encirclement pattern. We can make them hurt, but we can't win. What about the other ships in dock? Kelthix grasped for options. 2 bulk freighters with no weapons. 3 passenger liners, same. The Corinthian science vessel has a particle beam meant for asteroid studies. Morith's expression said everything about how useful that would be. And the human freighter, but the humans were banned. Kelthix cut him off. The vote had been nearly unanimous 3 months ago. Death Worlders. Too aggressive. Too unpredictable. Their very presence made the more civilized species uncomfortable. The human captain, Morrison, had taken the news with that peculiar expression they called a smile. Said something about there being plenty of stations that would welcome his business. Then he departed, and Kelthix had thought that was the end of it. They're still in dock, Morith said quietly. Engine maintenance. They can't leave even if they wanted to. Kelthix felt something twist in his thorax. They'd trapped the humans here. Banned them from using station facilities, forced them to rely on their own ship systems, and now they were stuck when death came calling. Are they responding to hails? They've been monitoring our emergency bands. No response yet. The administrator made a decision that would haunt him if they survived this. Open a direct channel. Encryption code override Alpha 77. Morith's eyes widened. That was the station master override, capable of cutting through any comm block. Sir, the ban. Damn the ban. If we all die here, the ban won't matter much, will it? Kelthix waited for the connection to establish. Human vessel indomitable, this is Administrator Kelthix of Verdant Station. I know you have no reason to help us. I know we wronged you. But there are 40,000 beings on this station about to be killed or enslaved. If you have any weapons, any capabilities, we're begging you. Please. Silence stretched. Kelthix could hear his own respiratory system pumping. The tactical display showed the pirate vessels completing their encirclement. 8 minutes left. Then a voice came through, rough and carrying that odd tonal quality humans had. Indomitable to Verdant Station. Captain Sarah Morrison speaking. Just to be clear, Administrator, you're asking the too aggressive Death World species for help with a violent situation? Kelthix couldn't tell if the human was angry or amused. Possibly both. Yes. I know how that sounds. I know what we said. I was wrong. We were wrong. But my people are dying in 8 minutes if. 7 minutes now, Morrison interrupted. And I want to be absolutely clear on this, Kelthix. You're officially requesting military assistance from the Indomitable? Yes. Whatever you have, whatever you can do, please. Another pause. Then Morrison's voice came back, and this time there was no ambiguity. She was smiling. Kelthix could hear it. Well then. Morith, since I know you're listening, I need you to evacuate Docking Bay 12 and seal it from the inside. We're going to need room to maneuver. Morith was already moving. Evacuating now. Captain Morrison, what? Tell your people to get away from external viewports. Things are about to get bright. The channel shifted to station-wide broadcast. All Verdant Station personnel, this is Captain Morrison of the human freighter Indomitable. Take cover and hold tight. The adults are handling this. Kelthix watched his tactical display as the human ship began to move. It was a blocky, inelegant vessel, typical of human design. Functional over aesthetic. The pirates were probably laughing at it. Then the freighter's hull began to open. Panels that Kelthix had assumed were cargo sections split apart, revealing bays that definitely weren't designed for shipping containers. What emerged made his blood run cold and hope surge simultaneously. Weapons. Dozens of them. The freighter was bristling with armaments that had been completely hidden from casual scanning. Warlord Draka, Morrison's voice cut across the comm channels, transmitted on every frequency. This is Captain Sarah Morrison of the human vessel Indomitable. You're in violation of Terran Space Protection Treaty, Article 7, Paragraph 4. Any attack on a station holding human vessels or personnel constitutes an act of war against Earth and her territories. You have 1 minute to withdraw beyond the system's heliopause. After that, I stop being polite. The pirate warlord's response was a barking laugh that translated through the alien vocalizations as pure contempt. One human ship? You Death Worlders truly are insane. We've destroyed entire defense fleets. What can one freighter do? Morrison's response was calm, almost conversational. Morith, are your people clear of Bay 12? Confirmed. Sealed and clear. Excellent. Draka, since you asked so nicely, let me show you. The Indomitable's main cargo bay doors blew open, explosive bolts sending the massive panel spinning into space. What emerged wasn't a weapon. It was a nightmare made manifest. The thing that rose from the freighter's hidden bay was a warship. Not a big one by military standards, but it had been folded, compressed, hidden inside the cargo hold like a predator crouching in tall grass. As Kelthix watched in disbelief, the vessel unfolded, pylons extending, weapons ports opening, a sleek dagger of a destroyer that absolutely should not have fit inside a civilian freighter. This is the TCS Retribution, Morrison announced. Terran Customs Service anti-piracy vessel. I've been hauling her in my hold for 3 years, waiting for someone stupid enough to give me an excuse to use her. Draka, you just became that excuse. The pirate fleet's response was immediate. They opened fire. Energy weapons lanced through space, converging on the Retribution and the Indomitable behind it. Celthix watched the shields flare, expecting them to fail under the concentrated barrage. They held. More than held. The readings on his display were absurd. Those weren't civilian shields. Those were military-grade defensive screens that could probably shrug off a planetary defense battery. Is that all? Morrison asked. My turn. The Retribution fired. Not energy weapons. Celthix's scanners shrieked warnings as they detected the launches. Missiles. Dozens of missiles, each one accelerating at rates that should have torn them apart. The pirates scattered, trying to evade, but these weren't ordinary munitions. These were smart weapons, and they were very, very patient. The first 3 pirate ships died in synchronized blooms of nuclear fire. Celthix felt his legs give out. Nuclear weapons. The humans had just used nuclear weapons in a station's defensive perimeter. 3 pirate vessels, each crewed by dozens of raiders, simply ceased to exist. Vaporized. The radiation alarms were screaming, but the blasts had been carefully positioned. The yields calculated to direct the energy away from the station. That was a warning shot, Morrison said conversationally. The next salvo will be twice as large. Draka, you have 30 seconds. Withdraw or die. Choose quickly. The pirate warlord was screaming now, ordering his ships to attack formation. They accelerated toward the Retribution, weapons blazing. They had superior numbers. They had heavier ships. They had done this 1,000 times before. They had never fought humans before. What happened next would be analyzed by military strategists across the galaxy for decades. The Retribution didn't retreat. It didn't try to create distance. Instead, it accelerated directly into the pirate formation, moving at speeds that should have been reserved for missiles, not warships. Morrison was using her destroyer like a fighter craft, and the pirates simply couldn't adapt. Celthix watched through his sensors as the human ship danced through the enemy formation. Point defense systems that were supposed to intercept incoming fire instead tracked and destroyed enemy vessels with surgical precision. The Retribution's main guns spoke, and where they pointed, pirates died. Not the slow death of disabled ships drifting in space. Instant, catastrophic deaths as the human weapons punched through shields and armor like they were made of vapor. Morith, Celthix whispered, what am I seeing? The security chief was watching with the expression of a man seeing his entire understanding of warfare rewritten. Rail guns. Kinetic weapons. They're not using energy weapons at all except for point defense. Those projectiles are moving at a significant fraction of light speed. The pirate shields are designed to deflect energy beams and absorb radiation. They're useless against solid matter moving that fast. How are they aiming them? Extremely sophisticated targeting AI, I'd guess. And Morith leaned closer to his display. And they're correcting for relativistic effects in real time. Those projectiles are hitting exactly where they're aimed despite the targets moving at combat speeds. That's insane computational power. A pirate cruiser tried to ram the Retribution, probably hoping to at least damage the human ship before dying. The Retribution rolled, thrusters firing in a pattern no civilized warship would attempt, and delivered a point-blank railgun salvo directly into the cruiser's reactor core. The explosion was spectacular. 12 pirate ships left. Draka, Morrison called again. Last chance. 10 seconds. The warlord's response was to throw everything he had at the human destroyer. All 12 ships, full weapons loadout, coordinated assault pattern. It was the kind of overwhelming firepower that had shattered station defenses and scattered defense fleets. The Retribution's shield held for exactly 4 seconds before failing. Celthix felt his hope die. They'd lasted longer than expected, done more damage than seemed possible, but 12 against 1 was still 12 against 1. Then the Indomitable opened fire. The civilian freighter had been sitting there the whole time, apparently defenseless. That had been a lie. Where the Retribution was a precision instrument, the Indomitable was a bludgeon. The weapons that emerged from its hidden bays weren't sophisticated railguns. They were mining lasers designed to cut through asteroids. Industrial plasma torches meant to reduce or to slag. Equipment that had legitimate civilian purposes. Morrison was using them as weapons. A mining laser designed to operate continuously for hours scored across a pirate destroyer's hull, cutting through armor, through bulkheads, through everything. The ship broke in half, atmosphere venting, crew being sucked into vacuum. The plasma torch turned another vessel into a molten wreck, metal running like water, systems failing across the board. You wanted to know what a Death World species can do? Morrison's voice had gone cold. We improvise. We adapt. We use whatever we have available. And we never, ever surrender. The Retribution, shields down, was still fighting. Now Kelthik saw another layer of human military doctrine. The ship's armor was ablative. It was designed to be shot. Each hit stripped away a layer of hull, but beneath that were redundant systems, backup power, distributed processors. There was no single point of failure. The pirates were scoring hits, absolutely wrecking the destroyer's outer hull, but they weren't stopping it. And they were dying. One by one, the pirate ships fell. Some to railgun fire. Some to the Indomitable's improvised weapons. One tried to flee and Morrison launched a missile that chased it for 40,000 kilometers before catching it and turning it into debris. Draka's flagship was the last one standing. The warlord was screaming into the comm channels, not orders anymore, just rage and disbelief. His ship was the largest, the most heavily armed, the pride of his fleet. It had terrorized this sector for a decade. Morrison destroyed it in 40 seconds. The Retribution came about, battered and scarred but fully functional, and delivered a salvo that overwhelmed the flagship's shields. The Indomitable followed up with a mining laser that carved through the ship's command deck. Draka's transmission cut off mid-scream. Then there was silence. The kind of silence that comes after violence, heavy and profound. Kelthik stared at his tactical display. 23 red markers. All gone. 2 human ships remained, damaged but operational. The entire engagement had lasted 11 minutes from first shot to last. 11 minutes. The pirates had expected an easy raid. They'd found humanity instead. Morrison's voice came through the station-wide channel, no longer cold, just tired. Verdant Station, this is the Indomitable. Pirate threat neutralized. We're reading significant debris in your orbital space and some radiation concerns. I'm transmitting safe vectors for your maintenance craft. You'll want to check your exterior for damage from secondary impacts. Kelthix found his voice. Captain Morrison. I don't, thank you. That doesn't cover it. Thank you doesn't cover anything. You saved us. After what we did, you saved us. Yeah, well. There was that smile in her voice again, but this time it was gentler. Turns out Death World species are good at handling violent situations. Who knew? The administrator felt shame burn through him. We were wrong. Completely wrong. I don't know how to apologize for. Kelthix, we can handle the political stuff later. Right now I need to know if you have medical facilities that can handle human physiology. I've got crew aboard the Retribution who took some hits. Our medical AI can keep them stable, but I'd rather have living doctors if you've got them. Morith was already moving. We have a trauma center on level 7. I'll have our medical staff standing by. What do they need to know? Oxygen breathers, carbon-based, similar enough to most species that your standard protocols should work. I'm transmitting our medical database now. And Morith? Thank you for clearing Bay 12. Saved us critical seconds. The security chief actually smiled. Thank you for having weapons to deploy. Captain, if you don't mind me asking, why a customs service ship? Why hide a military vessel in a freighter? Morrison laughed, and it was a sound of pure relief. Because pirates don't pay customs fees, Morith. And the Terran government takes its revenue very seriously. The Retribution's official designation is TCN 447, Anti-Smuggling Interdiction Vessel. We've been running combined operations for 3 years. I haul legitimate cargo, keep my ears open, and when we find pirates or smugglers operating near human trade routes, well, we encourage them to pursue other career paths. By vaporizing them. Enforcement is easier when the penalty is immediate and obvious. Hard to smuggle when you're a cloud of ionized particles. Celthix watched as the Retribution docked with the station, the battered destroyer sliding into the military berth they designated for the defense fleet that had arrived 73 hours too late to matter. Human crew began disembarking, and the administrator got his first look at Death World species in the flesh. They were smaller than he expected. Bipedal, which was common enough. But they moved with a kind of controlled energy that was distinctly uncommon. Even the injured ones, being helped by their crewmates, had an alertness to them. Like predators who never fully relaxed. Morrison was the last one off her ship, and Celthix met her at the docking port. She was shorter than him by a full head, with dark skin and hair braided tight against her skull. Immediately. Permanently. I'll draft the resolution myself. Appreciated. But Celthix? Morrison's expression grew serious. I need you to understand something. What happened here today, this wasn't humanity flexing. This wasn't us showing off. The Retribution is a customs ship. A revenue protection vessel. Back home, she's considered lightly armed. Celthix felt his blood chill again. Lightly armed. We have destroyers that make her look like a toy. Cruisers that could crack a planet. Dreadnoughts that serve as mobile fortresses. And that's just the Navy. The Marines have their own ships. So does Customs, obviously. Homeland Security runs their own fleet. The Colonial Guard, the Merchant Marine Defense Force, the Rangers. Morrison counted them off on her fingers. Humanity learned a long time ago that space is dangerous. We prepared accordingly. How many ships does Earth have? Morrison shrugged. That's classified. But I can tell you that the Terran Navy operates in 15 sectors, the Colonial Guard protects 47 colony worlds, and Customs runs interdiction operations across 80 trade routes. Do the math. Morith had been listening, and his expression was calculating. Captain, you said you've been running operations for 3 years. How many pirate groups have you encountered? 14. And how many survived the encounter? Morrison's smile was not kind. You're looking at the sole survivors right now. Everyone on this station. The pirates we hit don't get second chances. Can't smuggle if you're dead, can't raid if you're debris. The number sank in. 14 pirate groups. Hundreds of ships. Thousands of raiders. All gone. Celthix had thought the Kreshtar raiders were a major threat. Apparently to humanity, they were a minor inconvenience. Why didn't you tell us this? He asked. Why didn't you make it clear what you were capable of? Would you have believed us? Morrison countered. 3 months ago, would you have listened if I'd said, by the way, my freighter has a military destroyer hidden inside and we routinely vaporize pirate fleets? Or would you have thought I was an aggressive death worlder making threats? Celthix had no answer to that. She was right. He wouldn't have believed her. None of them would have. Morrison sighed. Look, Administrator, I understand why you banned us. We're new to the galactic community. We're aggressive by your standards. We come from a world that tried to kill us for our entire evolutionary history, and it shows. We fight when we probably shouldn't. We're territorial and protective, and we solve problems with violence more often than we should. But you saved us. Yeah. Because for all our faults, we also protect. When someone asks for help, we help. Even if they previously kicked us out. She smiled slightly. Especially if they previously kicked us out. Proving people wrong is a very human motivation. The medical teams were taking the injured human crew away, and Celtics watched them go. They were joking with each other. Laughing. They'd just been in combat intense enough to kill hardened pirates, and they were laughing. Do they not feel fear? He asked Morrison. Oh, they're terrified. Look at their hands. Shaking. That's adrenaline wearing off. In about an hour, most of them will crash hard. Might throw up. Definitely won't sleep well. But right now, they're riding the high of survival. It's a human thing. We laugh because the alternative is screaming, and screaming doesn't help. Morith approached with a data pad. Captain, preliminary damage assessment on the Retribution. You're going to need hull plating, shield generator replacements, 3 of your railgun bays are slag, and your reactor is running at 60% capacity. Repair estimate is 4 weeks, minimum. Morrison winced. 4 weeks. Command is going to love that. I'm supposed to be on patrol. We have the facilities, Celtics offered immediately. Full repair capabilities. It's the least we can do. Appreciate it. And I'll need to send a report to Earth. They'll want to know about this. What will you tell them? Morrison considered. The truth. That we engaged pirates threatening a civilian station. That the station authorities requested assistance. That we neutralized the threat with acceptable casualties and damage. She paused. And that the station has rescinded its ban on human vessels and is requesting formal diplomatic contact with Earth. I haven't requested that yet. You were about to. Weren't you? Celtics realized he had been. The galaxy had just shifted under his feet. Everything he thought he knew about humanity, about Death World species, about military capability had been proven catastrophically wrong. The Verdant Collective needed to adapt. Quickly. Yes. I was about to. The Collective will want to establish formal relations. Trade agreements. Possibly defense pacts. Morrison nodded. I'll pass that along. Fair warning though, Earth's diplomatic corps makes me look cuddly. They're polite, professional, and absolutely ruthless about protecting human interests. If you're negotiating with them, bring lawyers. Good ones. Over the next several hours, Celtics watched his station transform. The human crew integrated seamlessly with station operations, helping with debris cleanup, offering technical expertise on damage repairs, even assisting in medical with the few Verdant who'd been injured by secondary impacts from the battle. They were efficient. Courteous. Professional. And underneath all of that, absolutely lethal. Celtic saw a human engineer casually lift a piece of equipment that required 2 Verdant workers, carrying it like it weighed nothing. Saw a medical technician work for 6 hours straight without apparent fatigue. Saw Morrison review tactical data with Morith, breaking down the battle with such clinical precision that it became clear she'd been holding back during the fight. You could have destroyed them faster, Morith realized. Yeah. But faster meant more risk to the station. Those nuclear missiles? We have ones with 10 times the yield. I used the smallest warheads we carry because anything bigger would have cooked your outer hull even at that range. The railguns were set to minimum velocity because I didn't want penetrators punching through pirates and hitting you. We were fighting with one hand tied behind our backs the whole time. You still won in 11 minutes. Death World Species, Morith. We're good at violence. It's what we do. 3 days later, the defense fleet finally arrived. 6 warships, heavily armed, ready to save the station. They found the debris field first. Then they found the Verdant station intact and operational. Then they found the human destroyer in dock, being repaired. The fleet commander, a Quellan admiral named Thrace, requested immediate conference with Celthix. The administrator granted it, and found himself facing a very confused military officer. Administrator, your distress call indicated pirate attack. Kreshtar raiders. Where are they? Celthix gestured to the view screen showing the debris field. There. And there. Also there, scattered across 40,000 cubic kilometers. The humans dealt with them. Thrace stared at the screen. The humans. The Death World species you banned 3 months ago. The same ones. They had a warship hidden in their freighter. I know how that sounds. It sounds like you've been drinking reactor coolant. Ships don't hide in ships. Morrison, who had been invited to the conference, pulled up the technical specs. With respect, Admiral, ships absolutely hide in ships when they're designed to. The Indomitable has a cargo capacity of 40,000 cubic meters. The Retribution, when properly folded, occupies 38,000 cubic meters. Tight fit, but doable. Thrace looked at the schematics. Looked at Morrison. Looked back at the schematics. This is insane. You can't just hide warships in civilian vessels. There are treaties. Protocols. The entire concept of civilian shipping depends on ships being what they claim to be. The Indomitable is exactly what she claims to be, Morrison countered. A civilian freighter operating under Terran commercial registration. She hauls cargo, pays her fees, follows all applicable regulations. The fact that she also serves as a deployment platform for anti-piracy operations doesn't change her civilian status. We filed all the proper documentation with Earth's Commerce Department. And the weapons? Are legally owned and operated by the Terran Customs Service, which has full authority to enforce trade law and protect human shipping interests. All above board. Thrace turned to Celthix. You requested assistance from an armed customs vessel? I requested assistance from the only ship in dock with weapons. I didn't care what their mandate was. My people were about to die. The Admiral's expression softened slightly. I understand. But this sets a very concerning precedent. If humans can hide warships in civilian vessels, then trade routes become safer, Morrison interrupted. Pirates can't distinguish between a fat target and a customs ship. They attack, they die, word spreads. Piracy rates drop. Admiral, the Terran Customs Service has been running operations in this region for 3 years. You know what's happened to piracy in our patrol sectors? What? It's down 87%. Because pirates learn fast. Hit a human ship, die. Hit a station with a human ship docked, die. Get caught smuggling contraband near human routes, die. After a while, they decide other sectors are more profitable. Thrace was quiet for a long moment. How many ships like the Retribution does Earth operate? That's classified. Estimate. Morrison smiled. Enough that piracy against human interests is essentially a death sentence. We take our commerce very seriously, Admiral. Dead serious. The meeting concluded with Thrace requesting formal communications with Earth's government. The Quellan Defense Fleet, he suggested, might benefit from coordination with human anti-piracy operations. Especially if humans were this effective at eliminating threats. Kelthix watched the pieces fall into place. The galaxy was realizing what he'd learned 3 days ago. Humanity wasn't just another species. They were a military power that had been operating under everyone's sensors, quietly eliminating threats, protecting their interests, all while appearing to be simple merchants. A week after the battle, Morrison came to Kelthix's office with a bottle of something amber and potent-looking. "Human whiskey," she explained. "Tradition is to share a drink after a successful operation. Figured you might want to participate." Kelthix accepted the glass carefully. The liquid burned going down, but left a pleasant warmth. "Captain, I need to ask you something. Why did you really help us? After the ban, you could have let us face the consequences." Morrison poured herself a glass and settled into a chair. "Couple reasons. First, it was the right thing to do. 40,000 beings don't deserve to die because their government made a mistake. Second, we're not actually that aggressive. I know that's hard to believe after watching us vaporize 23 pirate ships, but we really do prefer peaceful solutions. We just prepare for violent ones. And third? Third, we knew this was coming. Not this specific attack, but something like it. Kelthix, you banned us because you thought we were dangerous. You were right. We are dangerous. But not to our friends. To our enemies. The galaxy needs to learn the difference. And now they will. Yeah. Word spreading. The Verdant Station attack is going to be analyzed, studied, dissected. Every military in the galaxy is going to want to know how we did it. Some will try to copy our tactics. Most will fail because they don't think like we do. But the smart ones, the ones who pay attention, they're going to learn something important. What's that? Morrison raised her glass. That humans don't start fights. But we sure as hell finish them. Kelthix raised his own glass and drank to that. 2 weeks later, the repairs on the Retribution were complete. Better than complete, actually. The Verdant engineers had upgraded several systems, improving efficiency and adding redundancies. Morrison walked through her ship with something like wonder. You didn't have to do this. The chief engineer, an elderly Verdant named Korthas, shrugged his manipulators. Professional pride. Your ship saved our station. Least we could do was make sure she's in peak condition for the next time. There's going to be a next time? Captain Morrison, there are a lot of bad beings in this galaxy. And apparently not enough humans to stop all of them. So yes. There will be a next time. We just hope you survive it as handily as you survived this one. The departure ceremony was larger than Kelthix had intended. It seemed the entire station wanted to see the humans off. Children held signs they'd made. Merchants offered gifts. The station's cultural choir performed a traditional Verdant blessing for travelers. Morrison stood at the airlock, clearly uncomfortable with the attention, and addressed the crowd. Thank you all. For the repairs, for the hospitality, for the chance to prove ourselves. The Indomitable and the Retribution will be back this way in about 6 weeks. We'll have cargo, and we'll have customs business. And this time, hopefully, we can just be boring merchants instead of exciting warriors. The crowd laughed at that. Boring. Right. As the ships prepared to depart, Kelthix received a final transmission from Morrison. Administrator, Earth's diplomatic corps will be contacting you within the month. They'll want to establish formal relations, discuss trade agreements, probably offer some kind of defense pact. Take the deal. I know the terms will seem aggressive. They always do. But Earth stands by its agreements. You helped us when we needed it, and we'll help you when you need it. That's how we work. I'll recommend the collective accept. Captain, before you go, one more question. How did you know to prepare the Retribution? The ban was 3 months ago. You've been ready to fight this whole time. Morrison's smile was visible over the transmission. "Celtics, we've been ready to fight since we left Earth. That's the secret. We're always ready. Peace is great. We love peace. But we never, ever assume it will last. See you in 6 weeks." The Indomitable and the Retribution undocked, maneuvering away from the station with the same precision they'd shown in combat. Celtics watched them go, these impossible humans with their hidden weapons and their casual competence and their absolute refusal to be anything other than what they were. Death World species. Too aggressive. Too unpredictable. Too perfect for a galaxy that had forgotten violence still existed. Months passed. The story spread. The station that had banned humans, saved by humans. The pirate fleet erased in 11 minutes. The warship hidden in a freighter. Every detail was picked apart, analyzed, argued over. And everywhere the story went, attitudes changed. Humans started receiving different welcomes at stations. Not wariness. Respect. Sometimes hope. Because if humans could hide a destroyer in a freighter, what else could they do? And more importantly, whose side were they on? The answer became clear as more incidents came to light. A human science vessel had driven off raiders attacking a Quellan colony. A human passenger liner had destroyed smugglers trying to run contraband through verdant space. Everywhere humans went, crime followed them. And everywhere crime followed, it died. The Terran Customs Service, it turned out, had been operating across the galaxy for 5 years. Quiet. Professional. Lethal. Building relationships, establishing patterns, learning the territory. And when piracy or smuggling threatened their trade routes or their partners, they responded with overwhelming force. "We're not aggressive," one human captain explained in an interview that went viral across the galactic nets. "We're protective. There's a difference. We don't start conflicts. But we will absolutely end them if they threaten our people or our friends. That's not aggression. That's loyalty." The galactic community was still processing that when Earth's diplomatic corps made contact with the Verdant Collective. The negotiations were intense. The terms were aggressive. But they were also fair. Protection in exchange for trade access. Defense coordination in exchange for basing rights. Technology sharing in exchange for cultural exchange. The collective accepted. So did a dozen other governments. Within a year, human customs ships were operating in 30 sectors. Piracy dropped everywhere they went. Not because the pirates got smarter. They didn't. They kept attacking what looked like easy targets. They kept dying when those targets turned out to be human ships with hidden weapons and absolute willingness to use them. "It's working," Morith reported to Celtics 1 year after the attack. "Crime in our sector is down 60%. Raids are down 80%. The few pirate groups that remain give us a wide berth because they know human ships visit regularly. And it only cost us our pride," Celtics observed. "Pride is cheap. Lives aren't. We made the right call." The administrator had to agree. The ban had been wrong. Keeping it would have been fatal. Rescinding it had saved them, and not just from the pirates. The Human Alliance had brought protection, prosperity, and a reputation as a station under Earth's protection. No one attacked stations under Earth's protection twice. Captain Morrison visited regularly, every 6 weeks like clockwork. Sometimes the retribution was visible, nestled in her special berth. Sometimes it wasn't, hidden in the Indomitable's hold, waiting. Celtics preferred not to know which was which. On one visit, Morrison brought news. Earth's building a permanent installation in this sector. Nothing huge. Just a custom station with maintenance facilities and a small flotilla. They want to know if the Verdant Collective would be interested in joint operations. Joint operations? Your people provide local knowledge and support. We provide the teeth. Together we make the sector safer for everyone. Earth's offering training programs too. Some of your security people want to learn human combat tactics, we'll teach them. Morith practically vibrated with excitement. Kelthix was more cautious. What does Earth get out of this? Stable trade routes. Reliable partners. Intelligence on regional threats. And goodwill. Never underestimate the value of goodwill, Administrator. The galaxy's a big place. Earth wants friends, not subjects. Partners, not clients. And what happens if we disagree with Earth on something? If our interests don't align? Morrison shrugged. Then we talk. Negotiate. Compromise like adults. We're not here to rule you, Kelthix. We're here to trade and to protect our trade routes. If you decide you don't want human ships here, we'll leave. We won't like it, but we'll leave. That's the deal. It was a good deal. Kelthix knew it. The Council knew it. Even the species who'd been most vocal about the ban knew it. Humans were dangerous. That hadn't changed. They were aggressive by galactic standards, violent by nature, products of a death world that had shaped them into apex predators. But they were also loyal. Protective. Trustworthy once you earned their trust. And in a galaxy that had forgotten how to fight its own predators, having friends who remembered was priceless. 5 years after the attack, Kelthix retired from his position as administrator. His replacement was a young verdant named Silthera who'd been in the educational center the day the pirates came. She'd watched from the windows as the human ships fought. She'd seen the nuclear fire. She'd heard Morrison's voice cutting through the panic. Her first official act was to commission a memorial in the station's central plaza. It showed a human and a verdant, hands clasped, standing back to back. The inscription read, "In times of darkness, we found light. In times of fear, we found courage. In times of division, we found friendship. Let this monument remind us that strength comes not from isolation but from standing together." Morrison attended the unveiling, along with her crew from the Retribution. They stood at attention as the memorial was revealed, and Kelthix saw tears in some of their eyes. "Thank you," Silthera said to Morrison. "For saving us. For teaching us. For being what we needed when we needed it most." Morrison smiled. "Thank you for giving us a chance to prove ourselves. And for remembering that different doesn't mean dangerous. Well, doesn't always mean dangerous." The crowd laughed at that. That evening, Kelthix and Morrison shared a final drink in his apartment, looking out over the station he'd run for 30 years. "Do you think they'll remember the lesson?" Kelthix asked. "That appearance isn't reality? That death world species can be trusted?" Morrison swirled her whiskey thoughtfully. "Some will. Some won't. But the important thing is that the galaxy knows now. Knows we're here. Knows we're capable. Knows we protect our own. That changes the calculation for everyone who might think about threatening human interests or our friends. You've built quite the reputation. We built it together. The reputation only works because we backed it up when it mattered. And because you gave us the chance." Morrison raised her glass. "To second chances. To changing minds. To friendship forged in fire." Kelthix raised his own glass. "To humanity. May they never be banned again." "I'll drink to that." They did, and as Kelthix looked out at his station, safe and prosperous under human protection, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real hope. The galaxy had been sleeping, comfortable in its assumptions about what species could and couldn't be. Humanity had woken them up, not with aggression, but with competence. With loyalty. with the simple demonstration that Death World species weren't something to fear. They were something to befriend. And in a galaxy full of threats, having friends who could hide destroyers in freighters was exactly what everyone needed. The story didn't end there, of course. Stories like that never do. They ripple outward, touching other lives, changing other minds. Every time a human ship docked at a station, the crew carried the story with them. Every time pirates learned the hard way that human vessels fight back, the lesson spread. 10 years after the attack, a young Quellan officer named Redhis found himself assigned to a joint human-Quellan patrol ship. He'd heard the stories, read the reports, studied the tactics. But he'd never actually served with humans before. His first day aboard the TCS Valiant, he met Commander Jackson, a human officer who'd served on the Retribution under Morrison. Redhis, right? Jackson extended his hand. Welcome aboard. Fair warning, we run a tight ship and we expect everyone to pull their weight. But we also protect our crew like family. You have my back, I have yours. Simple as that. Redhis took the hand, feeling the strength in that grip. I've studied the Verdant Station engagement. What Captain Morrison did. It was brilliant. Jackson smiled. It was necessary. Morrison's good at necessary. But you know what made that fight special? It wasn't the tactics or the weapons. It was the choice. Celtics chose to ask for help. Morrison chose to give it. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you need help. Sometimes the hardest thing you can do is give it when you've been wronged. Is that a human philosophy? It's just good sense. Come on, let me show you around. We patrol this sector in 2 days, and I want you familiar with every system on this boat. As Redhis followed Jackson through the ship, he realized something. The humans weren't trying to conquer the galaxy. They were trying to survive in it. And they'd figured out that the best way to survive was to make sure their neighbors survived too. It was a simple philosophy. Elegant, really. And it was working. Across the galaxy, in 100 sectors, on 1,000 stations, the story played out in variations. Humans protecting their allies. Humans destroying threats. Humans proving, again and again, that Death World species could be trusted. Not because they were peaceful. They weren't. But because they were loyal. And in a dangerous galaxy, loyalty was worth more than all the weapons in the cosmos. Though having both certainly didn't hurt.